Welcome and good evening to the City of Shakopee City Council meeting for December 20th, 2022. Item number 1, if we could call the roll, please.
Councilmember Brennan. Here. Councilmember Lehman.
Here.
Councilmember Whiting.
Here.
Councilmember Contreras.
Here.
Mayor Mars.
Here. Thank you very much. Item number 2, if we could all stand for the pledge, and we'll have a presentation of the colors by our local Cub Scout group.
Color guard advance. Color guard. Please salute the flag. If you're not in uniform, hand over heart, and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
color guard, return to rank.
I'd like to thank Troop 916 tonight for presenting the colors. Thank you.
Moving ahead to item number 3A, recognition of Commissioner Mike Beard. Mr. Reynolds?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Commissioner Beard, would you be so kind? And Mayor, we have a special proclamation.
And good evening. Yeah, you can sit there. Tonight, we're offering a special recognition to your long service to Scott County and the City of Shakopee, and we have a resolution of support for you tonight, and we would make a motion to approve that, and then before we vote, we would read it into the public record. Councilor Contreras?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve this resolution.
Councilor Lehman?
Second.
Second. And before we vote, we will read the proclamation into the public record.
Thank you, Commissioner Beard. You can sit down for all these whereases, but it's my honor to read this proclamation on your retirement here, sir. Resolution R 2022-162, a resolution of appreciation for the dedication and service of Commissioner Mike Beard. Whereas the City of Shakopee is fortunate to have dedicated volunteers and public servants working to better the community for all who work, live, and visit Shakopee. And whereas Commissioner Beard was elected to serve the community of Shakopee as City Council member in 1991, and whereas Commissioner Beard served as liaison to several outside organizations, including Shakopee School Board, Shakopee Service Clubs, Shakopee Coalition, Suburban Rate Authority, Shakopee Convention and Visitors Bureau, and Housing and Redevelopment Authority. Whereas Commissioner Beard also served as the Vice Mayor throughout his term on the Shakopee City Council. Whereas Commissioner Beard has served the community of Shakopee in several ways through volunteering for the Clock Tower Fundraising Committee, the Scott County Transportation Coalition, Shakopee's Comprehension Planning Task Force, and President of the Chamber of Commerce. Whereas Commissioner Beard has served on the Scott County Board since 2015 and currently serves as chair of the board. Whereas Commissioner Beard has continued to serve as Scott County through numerous additional boards and commissions, task force, and community groups. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Shakopee, Minnesota, hereby extends its deepest thanks and appreciation to Commissioner Mike Beard for his many years of service and dedication to the community of Shakopee, adopted in regular session of the City Council of the City of Shakopee, Minnesota, held the 20th day of December 2022.
I have a motion and a second on the table for special recognition for you, Commissioner Beard, and the proclamation, the resolution's been read into the public record. Further discussion? Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Unanimous.
Can I say about 2 minutes worth of stuff, Mr. Mayor?
Go.
I was going to bring it up under discussion before you voted because it might have affected the outcome of the vote. You know, I've kind of come full circle sitting here tonight thinking about this because it was when I ran for our city council in the old bank building before the new old bank building in the fall of 1991. Just kind of learning the way. One of the new kids trying to figure out how things were. We'd lived in town for about 5 years, and I'd found the chamber and found the Rotary Club, and we're just having a ball, getting to know people, and thought, this looks like fun. Let's try this. So I was privileged to serve with people like Gloria Bierling and Bob Sweeney and some of those old timers that were around to keep me on the straight and narrow and box my ears when I needed it and tell me how things worked. But you mentioned all those things. I just got tired, Councilor Whiting, listening to you talk about all the things that I've been privileged to be part of over the years or was forced to do. One that struck out to me just at the moment was the Suburban Rate Authority. Now, I was a new kid on the council, and I was convinced that the Suburban Rate Authority was either a hazing event or I was being punished for something because those were incredibly complicated and boring meetings, and I kind of had to go to them. Paint drying would have been more thrilling than the Suburban Rate Authority. But you know, I fast forward a few years when I was privileged to serve as your representative in St. Paul, sitting in a local government committee when right-of-way issues came up. And you know what? I knew what they were talking about. I understood right-of-way issues, and I understood the ability of a city to charge for those right-of-way issues and the fees that were attached to it and how that worked, all because somebody assigned me to the Suburban Rate Authority when I was a rookie city council member. So I was able to defend the city's position from a position of actually knowing what I was talking about, which is a happy occurrence when that happens in St. Paul, believe me. So here I am all these years later, having come back and discovered where the real fun job was, and that's up at the county courthouse, representing this part of the county, Shakopee, on the county board. I'm pleased that I think the relationships between the city and the county have improved since I've been there, at least from my perspective, because as many of you know, I'm a great believer in the power of a good cup of coffee and a good donut for working on relationships and talking things through. And so here's to more coffee and donuts, even though I'm going to be a has-been here in 12 more days. And I'm so pleased that Councilor Brennan is going to be taking my spot, and she'll make everybody forget me in about 6 months. That'll be a good thing. But I hope when I come back through town from time to time that we can still hang out at Wampauks or Ruby's and do coffee and a donut. That'd be great. Thank you for the honor you've accorded me. I'm humbled. Thanks.
Commissioner Beard, thank you for your almost 30 plus years of community service, both to the city, when you went to St. Paul, come back and help guide the county. Your public service has been unbelievable and always thoughtful and respectful on decisions that you've made. From a grateful community, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Lehman?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Beard, we've worked together for a little over 20 years now.
Yeah.
A lot of different topics. I can tell you the hazing and hazing meetings continue. We all have our share. It's been an honor and a privilege to work with you, Mike. You're a great guy. Fair level-headed guy. Really appreciate all you've done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Whiting?
Commissioner Beard, you know, I want to thank you for the opportunity. You gave me a tour of the Capitol when you were working down there. I was privileged to be at the luncheon with you and the former county commissioner when you said, hey, it might be a good job. Are you thinking of retiring? I think you remember that. But that worked out well for you. So congratulations on that. And congratulations on retiring. Thank you for your service. Always knew that you had Shakopee in your hands and in your mind and in your heart. So thank you for that.
Councilor Contreras?
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner Beard, as I sit here, I go back and I think about that conversation that you and I had
sometime back, 4 years, when I wanted to announce that I was going to run. And
Thank you for not listening to me, by the way.
no, and I wasn't even going to say what you said, but now that you bring it up, thank you. Those words actually were inspiring to say, wait, what do you mean, not yet? And they gave me this, I can do this, I got this. So thank you. And you are leaving big shoes to fill, not Jody, I mean us, me personally. You're a mentor that we have to, look at and follow. So thank you. Thank you for everything you've done. It is hard sitting over here, sitting where you're at. The work we do, sometimes people don't see it, but thank you.
Thank you. Bless you.
Brennan?
Thank you so much for the work that you've done at the county. You have a way of smoothing over the conversations, bringing everybody to the table, and making sure that everybody's heard. I just want to thank you very much for the work that you've done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before you depart, I think we're going to have a little photo op, so comb your hair, come up.
You want this, right?
Where's the backdrop? That way? Okay.
We'll have everyone stand up there. Ready on 3. 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
Would know.
All right, let's move ahead here to 3B, recognition of service for Mayor Mars, Mr. Reynolds.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for everything that you have done in the last 6 years. One of the first people, other than Commissioner Beard, was you, who wasn't involved with the city, that talked at first. And I can remember when you sat down in my office and introduced yourself just as a regular guy and talked about your love for the community and all the things that you appreciated about it, and you were trying to get the measure of me. And you took a look at my whiteboard, which was covered, and you kind of smiled, and you never said anything about it then, but later you said, I always knew what was going on because it was always on your whiteboard. And you have been a tremendous asset to this community. It's been an honor to serve under you and to assist you in what you've sought to bring to the city. You were mayor originally in 2002 and 2003, and then wanted to get back into city government because you were concerned at the time about the community. And it was clear to see in my first conversations with you that if nothing else, and I've told you this before, you have a big heart. And I always knew that that heart was in the right place, and I always knew that you were always going to do things that you thought were in the best for the community. The job that these individuals have up here is not an easy job. 50% of the time, you're ticking off 50% of the people. There's no way that we can make everyone happy with each vote. And all that a staff and all that residents can ask for, I think, is that whoever sits in these chairs, that they're willing to give things consideration, they're willing to take a look at the facts, they're willing to listen to the concerns of the community, and then they're going to do what they believe is in the best interest of this community. You, sir, have always done that. And I thank you on behalf of the staff for all your efforts.
Thank you.
And we do have a plaque for Mayor Mars. No resolution. To William Mars, Mayor, 2002 to 2003, and from 2016 to 2022, in recognition of service to the community of Shakopee, Minnesota. Thank you very much. And could we possibly get a photo with the council and mayor? Or maybe we should do it after the next plaque. That makes more sense.
Can I make a comment? I really
Brennan?
appreciate the work that you've done for our city mayor. You know, you're more than the mayor to me. You're a very good friend. So, thank you.
Counselor Whiting?
Yeah, I want to thank you again, too, for your service to this community. Your heart has been always in the right place, and I've always known that you've had your mind on Shakopee as well, so thank you for that.
Counselor Contreras?
It's hard to get the words out. Thank you.
Yeah.
There's more, but I'll get it out.
Okay. Counselor Lehman?
Thank you, Mayor. I don't recall the year that you and your family decided to make it your own effort to put together a community playground at Huber Park. What an undertaking that was. Hundreds of thousands of dollars raised, beautiful playground, lasted now for 20 years plus, and we're finally going to replace it. That kind of effort doesn't just come from average citizens in our community. That comes from above average, people that really care and have a desire to do something. Deeply appreciated. When we do get that new playground installed, it would probably, at least in my mind, we'll see how council feels about it. In my mind, I do think a plaque at that new playground would be in order, recognizing you and your family's efforts from the original playground and the work that went into that. So appreciate everything you've done for Shakopee. I'm sure you're not done serving Shakopee in one capacity or another. Love your family, wonderful people, and thank you.
Well, thank you all for the very kind words, fellow colleagues, counselors, Mr. Reynolds, and I just stand here tonight and thank the community for allowing me to serve our community over the years. I've never had an agenda. I've always looked at every decision that I make as what is in the best interest of Shakopee as a whole. And I also think and believe in my heart that one has to think beyond themselves. This isn't about today, tomorrow. It's about 20 or 30 years from now, making decisions, trying to make good decisions that last the time, right? That's what we know when we make good decisions for our community, and our community has grown by leaps and bounds. People want to come live here for all sorts of reasons. And I think that the city has been a driving force on that. We have a lot to be thankful for in our community, and I'm just glad, personally for my family, that I played a small role in that over some time. I just heard from another council person and back in the early 90s, right? We do this. We step up, we lean in, and serve our community, and that's been a big part of my family growing up. So thank you, residents of Shakopee, for allowing me to serve. I also would like to thank my wife, my family. You know, I served on the planning commissions for a decade. That was on Thursday night, and gone from the family. Then I got on the utility board for 12 years. They met on Monday nights. And then on council a couple different times in the last stretch for 7 years, and that was on Tuesday night. So, to my wife, thank you for allowing me to take that time to serve our community, and apparently now I'm gonna be back. So, I don't know what goes on those nights when I'm not there, but I'm gonna find out. But thank you, because it's really the sacrifice that we step up and lean in and, time away from your family, but thank you. I'm humbled by the support and, appreciate it, and, we'll take a pause and then we'll find a way to continue, as always, to help our community move forward, so thank you all. All right, next up, we would like to have a recognition of service to Councilmember Jody Brennan, who is moving on up to the county, and we have a plaque here, Jody. Jody Brennan, City Council, 2016 to 2022, in recognition of service to the community of the city of Shakopee, Minnesota. Jody, thank you very much for stepping up and leaning in. I remember we were talking the other day about how we first met, and maybe it was at a council meeting in the winter of 2014. You were on the internet, and I know that we talked and said maybe someday you should get involved, and you did. You stepped right up, and I appreciate that. Get on a board of commission, start learning things. You went on the planning commission, which served you very, very well. And a couple years later, you ran for council and were successful, serving this term. And now, moving on up to help and shape the county, and I appreciate that. I just found it interesting that you did what we talked about: step up, get involved, be active, and you did it all. And your amount of research and work is thoughtful, thorough, and you care. And I want to thank you for your effort here in the city of Shakopee, not only just on council, but on the planning commission. And I want to wish you the very best at the county level.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Whiting?
I'd like to take a moment to thank you too. Always asking those great questions and digging in deep and thinking of things that I would have never thought of. So thank you for that. And good luck.
Councilor Contreras?
I think I got it. I think I'm okay now. It's a hard night. I'm gonna miss my partner in crime.
No.
We would go everywhere to, obviously our work. We would, to wherever we were invited, we'd be there, and I'd love always making sure, are you there? Are you gonna be there? And you'd check on me. I enjoyed this whole time we were a team. But I know you're not going anywhere. You're just gonna move up, and I can ask you questions, and you'll help and guide me. So thanks for everything, Jody. Thank you. I'm gonna miss you.
Councilor Lehman?
Thank you, Mayor. What I would say to Councilmember Brennan, after 6 years of the punishment on the city council, as Mr. Reynolds accurately points out, where no matter where you fall, 50% of the population is angry at you. And there really is no right or wrong decision. I've learned over the years that there's multiple perspectives on any given topic, and all different perspectives are usually legitimate. But I will say, you're a glutton for punishment if you're going to go to the county, which is much larger, many more harder issues, and a lot more people to be angry at you. So I wish you the very best. I know that you will be thoughtful in your decision process and your fact-finding, which is reassuring to all of us in Shakopee, being part of Scott County. So I look forward to working with you and being apprised of the issues that relate to Shakopee. So good luck to you, congratulations, and I wish you success.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I was so honored to be elected to the city council. I love this community, and just working for all of you, it's just been an honor. So thank you very much. Thank you very much to the council. Thank you very much to the staff. I think about you all as friends, and I'm so, I'll miss you. But I know that I'll give you a call and, and have you help me through the issues. So thank you very much.
Great. Let's have another picture with her.
Picture.
Chair detail all the time, just
Remembering that.
looks bad behind the picture when the chairs are a mess. Guess if it's anything I learned over 20 years, I guess that's it, the chair.
All right, ready, everyone? On 3. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you.
All right, thank you all very much. Let's move ahead then to item number 4, approval of the agenda, and we do have 3 items that were sent out by email and on our desk. Resolution for number 5A, a fee schedule alarm section for 5A2, and the towing contract. The actual contract was added as well. Counselor, Mr. Reynolds.
Yes, sir, and one other thing is that Councilwoman Brennan, in her diligence, and which will be missed, by the way, noted that our THC ordinance, actually the ordinance itself, has 18 as the age you're supposed to have, or where you can get a license, and in reality that should be 21, not 18. So that is a change that we will make as part of that particular item.
Mayor, what was the third change? The towing contract, I saw that one. There was a minor change to the fire fee schedule, 5A2.
5A2, the towing contract, that the physical contract was added.
Yep.
And then the resolution R2022-160 for 5A,
For the SHIP grants.
SHIP grant.
5A.
The actual grant for 5A14.
5A14, yeah.
5A.
Statewide Health Improvement Partnership Grant
Yep,
application.
okay, yep.
So, everybody, Counselor Whiting.
I'm okay with the added items. I think they're just minor, so I would make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Second.
I have anything else, Mr. Reynolds?
No, sir.
Okay, I have a motion and a second by Counselor Contreras for the 4 things that were noted, and as well as the THC going to 21. Everybody all okay? Further discussion? Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. The agenda's been approved. Thank you. Moving ahead then to our consent agenda. Mr. Reynolds, are there any changes outside of the ones that were previously mentioned?
Yes, sir, we'll be pulling item 5C1 from the consent agenda.
And did we want to add that to somewhere else?
That will then be taken care of for items pulled off consent.
Okay, I apologize. Counselor Lehman.
Mayor, I was wondering if we could add 9B3. It's a sale of a strip of land next to a retaining wall that's needs repair and can't get repaired because it's right up against our property line, city property.
What's on there, 9B3?
Yeah, 9B3,
Added to consent.
add it to consent.
Oh, okay.
And then I was wondering if 9A2 THC licensing could be added, providing we recognize it's 21 years old, not 18.
If everybody is comfortable with that, certainly no issues here.
I'm all right with that. Might as well throw in the the financial report too, the 9A1. Got out here early.
9A1.
Do we need to talk about that one?
No, sir.
Sorry. 9A1, can we throw that
Robin
on
Nate of
consent?
his last night on the fiscal for the year.
All right. Okay, I'll add that to consent.
All right, just make,
I'll make a motion.
A1, A2, and B3.
but, I want to make sure, we can do it.
Right here.
We can't do it on discussion. Yep, 9B1.
I can make the motion with
Okay,
it in
go
there.
ahead, Counselor Lehman.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda, removing 5C1, adding 9A1, adding 9A2, and adding 9B3 to the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second.
I got you.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see it.
Contreras for, really would be no further consent. The consent agenda was modified. So before we vote, we would read the modified consent agenda into the public record. Mr. Reynolds.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. These are the consent agenda items for December 20th of 2022. 5A1 approves the city council meeting minutes for December 6th of 2022. 5A2 adopts ordinance O 2022 Tech 028 establishing fees for 2023. 5A3 adopts resolution R 2022 TAC 144 establishing combined polling places for 2023. 5A4 approves taxicab business license renewals for 2023. 5A5 approves pawnbroker business licenses for Excel Pawn and Jewelry and Pawn Exchange LLC. 5A6 approves tobacco business licenses for 2023. 5A7 adopts resolution number R 2022 TAC 141 approving the proposed EDA special benefit levy. 5A8 adopts resolution R 2022 TAC 142 and R 2022 TAC 143 approving the property tax levy collectible in 2023 and the 2023 annual budget. 5A9 adopts resolution number R 2022 TAC 156 accepting gifts and donations. 5A10 adopts resolution number R 2022 TAC 145 designating individuals authorized to perform certain banking transactions. 5A1 approves the 2022 budget amendments. 5A12 designates the Shakopee Valley News as the official newspaper for 2023 and the city website for transportation projects. 5A13 awards a contract for towing services to Shakopee Towing Incorporated. 5A14 adopts resolution R 2022 TAC 160 approving an application for 3 Scott County Health Ship grants. 5B1 authorizes the purchase of SCBA equipment from McQueen Equipment. 5D1 adopts resolution number R 2022 TAC 159 approving plans and specifications and ordering advertisement for bids for the TH 169 pedestrian bridge project. 9A1 is the monthly financial review. 9A2 adopts ordinance O 2022 TAC 027 amending chapter 110 of the Shakopee City Code by adding provisions pertaining to the sale of THC products, and adopts resolution number R 2022 TAC 146 authorizing publication of ordinance O 2022 TAC 027 by title and summary. And finally, 9B3 adopts resolution number R 2022 TAC 161 for the sale of the property for $30,000 while retaining the necessary rights of way for an existing road at 815 First Avenue West.
Thank you, Mr. Reynolds. Counselor Lehman?
Mayor, just point of order, that 9B3 is stated on the agenda has the address as 801 First Avenue West, and I believe the paperwork says 815 West.
That might be the property in question, the strip they might have, I don't know, maybe.
Good point.
Let me take a quick look at that, please.
I know when I read the memo, I think it was 815 West. But is our property 801? that
Mr.
we're
Kursky,
selling?
can you help us out with that?
I think Counselor Whiting is actually correct. I think what you're reading on the agenda is saying sale of surplus property at 801. That's our property, and we're selling it to 815.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Just clarifying.
Point of clar, we're good?
Yep.
So I have a motion for the modified consent agenda. The modified consent and a second. The modified consent agenda with clarification has been read into the public record. There would be no further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? That motion carries. Thank you very much. Let's move ahead to item number 6, which is, I'd like to call on any resident that would like to come forward and make comment on an item not on the agenda. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and welcome.
Microphone.
Welcome.
Thank you very much, council members, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce myself. My name is Bill Mercer, and I am now the new executive director of the Scott County Historical Society. I've been on board for about 2 months now, and I felt that it was high time to say hello and introduce myself to everyone in a more formal manner. Excuse me. A little bit about myself. I've spent my entire career working in museums. My background in particular is working with Native American history, Native American culture, as well as local history. So to me, this is really a wonderful opportunity here. And in general, my particular personal focus is at the intersection of cultural and environmental sustainability. So, when we're talking about Shakopee, it's really a wonderful fit for me, and hopefully the community will see that as well, not only with Shakopee, but all throughout Scott County. One of my primary responsibilities this first year will be as the project director for the Shakopee Riverfront Cultural Trail. And as we all know, we've all been working on that and thinking about that. And so that'll be taking up a great deal of my time. But at the same time, please keep an eye and an ear open for what we're going to be doing there with the Historical Society in terms of our educational programs and our exhibitions that will be geared not only towards students, but also to lifelong learners as our contribution to a vibrant cultural entity that we have throughout this particular county. I'd also like to finally thank you all for your support of the Scott County Historical Society, and we look forward to working with the council, working with the entire county, with the other councils in the various communities in order to better all of us for the good of everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilor Whiting.
I just wanted to stop and say welcome, Bill, as a former president of the County Historical Society, and I know there's a couple former board members up here, so welcome. And we are going to be playing a big part with that cultural corridor with the County Historical Society. All the state funding will be funneled through the county and your group, and we do have our new site down there. Hopefully maybe you and I can get down there and walk around, maybe bring some of the staff down and take a look at our new addition to the National Registry and talk about that, how that fits into the cultural corridor. So welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
Councilor Brennan?
We spoke earlier today, and I will be working with Bill as a commissioner at Scott County Commissioner, and I'm on that committee with you. So I was excited to hear about the work that you're continuing with on the cultural corridor, and that's such a vibrant area for us and will be an exciting addition. So thank you.
Councilor Lehman.
Mayor, I just wanted to point out to everybody in Shakopee, well, Scott County, I guess, but, well, and beyond, the stuff that you have in your building at your location, the historical type artifacts, if you will, the readable history, and some of the other things. You know, not a lot of people know that exist, and sometimes if they don't know that it exists, they don't take advantage of it. It's really kind of cool, actually, and I do believe we have some stuff in there, old World War II stuff from Dad and stuff. So it is pretty cool to look back at the history. Rock Springs comes to mind. So I'm just putting this out there to tell people that it's worth the while to go visit. Check it out, look it over, ask questions, learn some of that history.
What's that address again?
It's on Fuller Street, right? I don't know the address by hand.
235 Fuller Street.
235, yeah.
There you
It's
go.
the best little secret in Shakopee, yeah.
Absolutely, and you're quite right. And one of the great things that a museum and historical society can do is it can help a community acknowledge the past, embrace the present, and prepare themselves to move positively into the future. And that's what we're going to be trying to do, is to raise the profile of the Historical Society in that respect through relevant, lively, and dynamic programs and exhibitions that will stimulate creative thinking, which, as we all know, is the key to vibrant communities in the 21st century.
Congratulations, welcome to our community. I know you and I have talked once or twice, and interestingly enough, I did take a call today from Congressional Representative Angie Craig, that has her second ask in the omnibus bill that is on the cusp of being voted on in the next several days for another $750,000 for the Culture Corridor on top of last year. So hopefully in the next couple days, the week, that'll get voted on, and it'll be coming our way.
Wonderful. Anything I can do to help, I'm going to be ready to jump right in.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is a time when a resident can come speak on an item not on the agenda. If you'd like to come forward, please state your name and address for the record. Mr. Reynolds, have we received any electronic communication?
No, sir.
All right. Seeing none, we're going to move ahead, but I want to, before we move ahead, there was an item here, Mr. Reynolds.
Yes, sir, my apologies. I missed one item. It was not on the original agenda. It was added, though, under the applicable timelines, and that is item 5A15, the retirement of a department head, and that is on consent.
Okay. 5A15,
Do we need a motion on that?
we
Yes,
probably
I
should.
recommend you just adopt it.
So it's to accept a resignation of a department head?
I'll make a motion for 5A15 to adjust the agenda here and add item for the retirement of a department head.
It was actually on the agenda. It's just not on this printed copy.
Okay.
It was added after you received the agenda.
Okay.
So we already adopted it.
Yes.
I see.
In the adopted agenda.
We didn't read it.
It did. It's just I didn't read it into the record. I just wanted to make sure that
That's
So
fine.
noted.
That's fine.
Okay.
That was
So we
fine.
don't need any further action.
No.
Okay.
So that was adopted on the online official agenda. Okay? Very good. Thank you. Let's move ahead to item number 7, business removed from consent. And we have one item, 5C1, which is a donation and sponsorship acceptance resolution. And Carla, welcome, and you will present.
and Recreation Premier and event sponsors. These sponsors gave $1,000 plus towards recreation programs and events this past year. As you know, Shakopee Park and Rec provides a variety of programs and events annually, bringing people together to foster community identity and pride with fun and exciting activities and events. These programs and events would not be possible or as successful without the support and partnership of our local community businesses and organizations. Their contribution is vital to enhancing and improving our programs and events for the residents of Shakopee on an annual basis. Because of their generosity and support, we can expand our programs by providing a variety of amenities to all of our events. On behalf of the City of Shakopee Park and Recreation team, we want to express our deepest gratitude for the ongoing support and partnership we have developed with these individual businesses and organizations. Outside of the individuals who provided the higher level, the 1,000 plus, the premier and event sponsorships, we also had approximately 15 other businesses who are lower level activity level sponsors. Also a huge thank you and shout out to those of them as well for their support and partnership. We have 7 businesses who provided $1,000 plus. 5 of them could not make it, but those that were not in attendance, I'd like to just give them a shout out as well. And that was O'Brien Dental, Jody O'Brien, Metropolitan Dance Alliance, Jen Carlson, State Farm Insurance, Katie O'Dean, the Benedictine Living Community Services, Randy Buskins, and Savoy Pizza, Chris residents. We have 2 of them who challenged the weather before the snow comes, and were so kind to come in so we could recognize them. We have Bert and Bonnie Noterman from Lions Tap, Shakopee Gravel, and we have Tim Zunker from the Shakopee Chamber of Commerce. So we'd like to give you a round of applause and thank you for everything you do for Shakopee. If you can come up, Tim. I just want to present to you all, both of you, a certificate of appreciation. It says, in grateful recognition of your continued support and sponsorship of Shakopee Parks and Recreation Programs events, we hereby present to you the certificate and a beautiful Shakopee mug. It does keep your coffee warm.
I don't drink coffee, but I'll start drinking.
Flying you for burgers, Bert, watch out.
Also for you, same thing, Chamber of Commerce. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Tim.
It wasn't necessary, but it's appreciated.
No, thank you so much. Thank you both.
Can we once again, please get another photo with
Let's
the
do
city
that.
council?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Fix the chairs.
Thank you all very much.
Fix the chairs.
No, but it's okay. You got it.
Do funny faces.
No bunny ears, please. One, two, three. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Carla.
Sorry.
Just a quick comment on this. You know, we're forever thankful for the donors in our community and the sponsorship of all the activities. I went to a senior event the other day that the sponsorship was amazing, and some of those programs probably wouldn't happen without the sponsorship. And thank you, Bert Noterman and the Chamber and all the sponsors, the public-private partnership that makes it come all together. We're forever thankful from the community. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Counselor Whiting?
Are you ready for the next item?
No, we need to, I don't think we took action.
Sorry,
on this.
yep. Let's see, I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution number R 2022-150, accepting donation and sponsorship funds for recreation programs and events.
Second.
I have a motion and a second by Counselor Brennan. Further discussion? Counselor Lehman.
Mayor, I think you stated it well, but I don't think enough emphasis goes out to the public on how important it is for not only businesses in Shakopee, businesses outside Shakopee, and even our residents to sponsor and contribute to these very worthwhile causes. It's very much appreciated by all, and please, if you are considering it, certainly contact staff. Park and Rec staff. They'll work with you.
Great. I have a motion and a second on the table. Further discussion? Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. Thank you. All right. Now, Counselor Contreras, we're on to 8A.
Like to make a motion to open a public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion to open a public hearing and a second. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? The public hearing is now open, and we are going to, for the currency exchange license for Excel Pond.
Mayor and council.
Oh, I'm sorry. City Clerk will present. Lori?
This is a yearly occurrence. The state gives this license to businesses to conduct the business of cashing checks, drafts, and money orders, or travel checks. We have one business, Excel Pond, here in the community, and we have to hold a public hearing to allow anybody in our community to speak concerning this license. We have not received any complaints from the community. I don't know if there's anybody here to speak to it. There is no issue with finance. They're all caught up with their requirements on their fees that they're needing to pay and in the agreements, and nothing from the police department. And they've already paid their fees to the state, so this is just a requirement that we are needing to have the resolution approved for them to get their license from the state, so.
Thank you. Questions of staff? Seeing none from staff, this is a public hearing. Would the applicant and/or their representatives like to come forward and make comment? Seeing none, this is a public hearing. Would anybody else, any resident, like to come forward and make comment on this item? Please come forward, state your name and address for the record. Councilor Brennan.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I have Councilor Lehman.
Second.
I have a motion and a second by Councilor Lehman to close the public hearing. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The public hearing is now closed. Councilor Contreras.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution R 2022-157, approving the application of Excel Pond Inc., DBA Excel Pond and Jewelry, located at 450 West First Avenue for currency exchange license.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second by Councilor Contreras, or Councilor Brennan, excuse me. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Excuse me. Let's move ahead then to 8B. Proposed vacation of a portion of a draining and utility easement for Ridgeway Estates. Councilor Whiting.
I'll make a motion to open a public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to open the public hearing. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. The public hearing is open. Michael will present. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So again, this is the proposed easement vacation in the Ridgeview Estates plat at 7006 Oak Ridge Court. This is the subject property down here in the corner off of Eagle Creek. The site is approximately 0.85 acres. The zoning is R1B urban residential and is guided for suburban residential. The proposal is to vacate a 5-foot wide segment of drainage and utility easement to allow for the construction of the same size house as the existing house on a future lot. The applicant has applied for a minor subdivision. Minor subdivisions are an administrative review. The council is strictly reviewing the easement vacation request. The proposed vacation allows for an additional setback beyond the R1B minimum setback of 7 feet 5 inches. The proposed lot line is 22.8 feet from the current house and 10 feet from the proposed future house. So the houses would be 32.8 feet apart. This is the actual easement that we'll be vacating, and it's The vacation is supported by Shakopee Public Utilities and Public Works. So this is the easement that will be vacated. And there's the proposed future house, which would have been touching that easement.
Questions of staff? So the red line is, the red box is the current easement that we'd be vacating?
Mayor and Council, that's correct.
And it goes through the house at this time?
Well, Mayor and Council, that house doesn't exist. Currently, the only house that's here is this one here.
Oh, the other house, okay.
This is a possible future house that the owner is looking at building.
Counselor Lehman?
Thank you, Mayor. If you could go to the picture in the packet with the orange outline. I just had one question, and there you go. The row of trees along the Eagle Creek Boulevard, your easement red line you just showed us touched one or two of them trees. Would them trees be required to remain?
That would be correct, Councilmember.
Okay.
Other questions of staff? And my main question, I just found this very unique, because this is a newer development in our community, and all of a sudden a landowner, homeowner has a situation where, and I've driven by this lot many times, that he has a big triangle and now subdivide and then could sell that lot. The lot will become buildable, correct?
Mayor and Council, that's correct. Once this easement is vacated, they'll be able to build on this lot.
Okay. Further discussion, questions of staff? Seeing none, this is a public hearing. Would the applicant like to come forward and make comment?
Mayor, I believe the applicant is out of the country.
Is us to vacate?
Pardon me?
Okay.
He's out of the country.
Okay. Would any other resident like to come and make comment in regard to this vacation? This is a public hearing. Seeing none,
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I have a Counselor Lehman.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. Further discussion? Discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed? Motion passes. Counselor Whiting.
Make a motion to adopt Resolution R 2022-158, which vacates a 5-foot wide segment of drainage and utility easement on Ridgeview Estates.
Second.
I have a motion and a second by Counselor Contreras. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? That motion passes. Thank you very much. Let's move ahead to our third public hearing. 8C, vacation of a public right-of-way within Glacier Estates. And Counselor Brennan.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second by Counselor Contreras to open the public hearing. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Public hearing is now open, and Michael will present. Welcome back.
Mayor and Council, again, this is a vacation of a public right-of-way within Glacier Estates. Application is from Scott County and the Scott County CDA. The vacation clears up a remnant right-of-way segment with a new easement document that will be recorded that clearly defines the secondary emergency access for these two subdivisions. Access will now be provided through an easement document. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of this request. This is the location, and here is the section of right-of-way that would be vacated. This was set up in the original Glacier Estates to provide an emergency second access for police and fire. So now it'll be in an easement instead of a right-of-way.
Turn from a right-of-way to an easement.
Yes.
Okay. Counselor Lehman.
Can you show us where that easement would be?
Certainly, Council Member. So this section right here is currently in an easement, so now we'll have a new easement that will cover basically this entire section. So it's in this property right now. It's in case that entrance is blocked to allow fire and police access into the subdivision.
So the right-of-way will turn into an easement, but the net effect will be still emergency entrance.
Mayor and council, if you look at this diagram, so the area that's out in gray here, if I can get this to work, this will be the new easement for that emergency access that connects to Marine Drive.
All right. More questions of staff? More questions of staff? Seeing none? This is a public hearing. Would anybody like to come forward and make comment on this? Seeing none, Councilor Brennan?
Make a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
I have a motion and a second by Councilor Whiting to close the public hearing. Further discussion, discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. Thank you. Councilors? Councilor Whiting?
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution R 2022-155 regarding the vacation of certain public right-of-way segment adjacent to Marine Drive as dedicated within Glacier Estates.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, that motion passes. Thank you very much. Let's move ahead then to 9A1, 9A2 were included on consent. And then we would be at 9B1, re-guide property from Park and Rec open space to suburban residential. And Michael will present.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this is three actions that we're requesting tonight. The first is re-guiding a property from Parks and Open Space to suburban residential. The second would be rezoning that property from rural residential RR to urban residential R1B zone. And the third would be adopting a preliminary plat of the Marine Addition. This application is from Scott County, and Scott County CDA creates lots for the CDA's Community Land Trust. Sales are to families with an income of 80% or less of the area median income. Homes meet and exceed all of the city's single-family residential design and performance standards. Park dedication funds will be used to make improvements to the existing Glacier Estates play area. Just a little history. So this is the Glacier Estates subdivision in 1990. You can see the location of the original road over on the far right. Scott County acquired most of the property in this area for reconfiguration of the road. So this is in 2003, before Glacier Estates was actually built. You can see the old barn and some of the homes in the area. There was one home that was actually off Eagle Creek Boulevard. And then 2005, the subdivision had yet to be built, and the area was on the corner, which we're going to be talking about tonight, has still been fairly open, but the rest of the area was fairly wooded. Then when Glacier Estates started in 2007, you can see most of the woods, except for these conservation areas over here, were cleared. And again, this parcel, the road ended here. Utilities were extended for future development of this site. And here we are in 2022. This is the Glacier Estates Park that we were talking about earlier, where the park dedication would go. This is what's proposed as the Moraine Addition right in the corner. So this actually a two parcel piece. The red parcel, Scott County did not plat the right of way through here. That's how it ended up as open space, which was an error. It should have been either right of way or some other adjacent land use. They're carving out the parcel that's in the yellow, but leaving the rest of the red parcel in open space along with the rest of their right of way that they have for their ponding. So property again was purchased by the county in 1992 from a private resident as part of the County Highway 18 realignment. The number of lots, this was originally proposed in the Planning Commission in July. It's been decreased from 15 to 10, and that actually has reduced the number of vehicle trips, and the lot sizes have been increased, and the impact on the trees in the wooded area has been decreased. This is the preliminary plat. So these lots are fairly large, you'll see in a second. And originally they had much larger cul-de-sac. They've shrunk it way down because they now have fewer lots. They'll also be making some connections. You'll see sidewalks along this side of Moraine from the existing neighborhood out to the trail that's on County Highway 18. So this is the new subdivision with kind of the lot area that can be developed. This is a new infiltration pond over here. They'll also be finishing the trail that runs along the county on Eagle Creek here. And you can see that here's the new connection through the yards, side yards here out to the trail for the neighborhood and continuation of the sidewalk. So a traffic study was done by SRF for Scott County, confirmed the proposed development is expected to have minimal impact on the traffic operations within the study area. An additional vehicular access location does not meet access spacing guidelines and is not needed from an operational or safety perspective, and the county will continue to monitor County Highway 18, County Highway 16 intersection and investigate potential long-term improvements for this intersection and the corridor. Existing land use, again, is open space. This would re-guide that to suburban residential. The lots proposed are 70 feet wide, 130 feet deep. The lot area varies slightly, but most of them are about a third of an acre. Front yards will be 25 feet, side yards 7.5, and the rear yard 30 feet. Maximum impervious coverage is 50% allowed, and they meet that. They also hired an architect to do designs for all these houses, so these are fairly substantial houses, 2-car garage. They have an unfinished basement, kitchen, dining room, living space on the first floor with a den, half bath, and then upstairs there are 4 bedrooms and 2 other baths. And here's another one of the models, so they have some variety here. This is typical design they have worked through. They've gone through the design standards for the neighborhood, which require a minimum of a 2-car garage and additional materials. You'll see they have kind of a palette for these houses. They do have front porches we require, and this is all LP siding and LP shakes on the upper levels, so they have provided some significant material. You can see on the side here, all of the sides have substantially more windows than we've seen actually in any of the subdivisions that we typically review. So this is kind of 6 examples of the houses they'll be building. You can see they did include stone, which you'll see kind of out at the D.R. Horton and some of the other subdivisions on some of the piers on the front porch. And then they did vary materials on the upper portion, so they have some shake shingles on these second levels, and they have board and batten on this particular model. So many of you have made comments in some of our subdivisions. We have houses that are all identical. I think they've tried to provide some variety in these. Also, most subdivisions we see at least 3 sides, if not 4, are vinyl sided. They have gone with a higher quality product here with LP, which is a pre-painted, finished hardwood product. So the recommendation is approval. It was a recommended approval of 6-0 by the Planning Commission. They recommended City Council should adopt 3 separate actions. One is adoption of Resolution R-22-153, approving re-guiding the property from parks and open space to suburban residential. 2 is adoption of ordinance 02022-029, approving the rezoning of the property from rural residential to urban residential, and then adoption of resolution R-2022-154, approving a preliminary and final plat of the Moraine addition. We also have someone here from the CDA that has a separate presentation because a lot of questions came up about how this would work as a land trust, which they're prepared to do a short presentation on what a land trust means.
Questions of staff? Questions of staff? I guess I kind of look at this in two different lenses. That the way that it was presented tonight and the way the packet reads, it's a simple rezoning for what I would think would be a small subdivision, plain and simple, right? And then elevations of some houses, layouts, plat, all those things. So I think in the simplistic form of what we're trying to work on a decision tonight is just how it was presented. I know that the CDA wants to come forward and maybe speak on their land trust issue. But from a planning aspect, from a city council aspect, I find it almost like business as usual of a possible rezoning and a plan, regardless of ownership, right?
Mayor and Council, that's correct. I think we wanted to have the CDA. That was probably one of the hotter topics at the Planning Commission was, would this impact the value of the existing homes in the subdivision adjacent to it in Glacier Estates, and how would this actually work long term? I think the other point was utilities were brought. This was in private ownership before the county bought it for the road, and so there was expectation, as in most of our projects, that there would be a similar subdivision here. There's actually a mirror kind of this subdivision on the other end of Glacier Estates. It's actually not part of Glacier Estates, that was done as a separate subdivision. So there is sewer and water that's already been brought right to here that will just be extended to the end of the cul-de-sac.
All right, further questions, comment? Councilor Whiting?
Yeah, I'd like to comment. When we first saw this proposal, it was 15 houses packed in there, and it was almost like we had to have access to, I think that's 18 right there. Now I don't see it as necessary to have that access, which I'm sure the county's not going to go against their own policy on anyway. But it seems a lot more manageable. It's managing the water a lot better, and just the look of it balances, like you mentioned, to the other side of the development. So just some comments there. But you're right. I don't think we need the presentation. It's interesting, but I think this is just a development issue.
Okay. Other comment, Councilor Brennan?
I have a question regarding the concept plan of the homes, if you can go back to that one. Number 1, I think it's the next one, that one. Number 1.1 has a dotted line through it. Is that for expansion? Is that an example of what an expansion would be like?
So Mayor and Council, one of the things that the CDA in developing of these wanted to make sure that if you wanted to stay in this home for 30 or 40 years, you could. And so there are opportunities in their designs. It's interesting, the planning staff said it's really rare they see architect design houses. Typically they're production homes that you see everywhere. These were all architect design and very thoughtful that you could actually put an addition on here, and there's also room in the back to do a one-story addition. So they've really looked at kind of the life cycle of these homes, that they could be expanded. And also the basements are all unfinished. As we know, the typical kind of Shakopee is you buy the house and then 5 or 10 years later you finish the basement. These houses are all set up with full basements that can also be finished.
I have one more
Yeah,
question.
follow up?
All of the concept plans match our ordinances and there are requirements for quality of home and building material?
Mayor and Council, they actually far exceed. So most of the new homes in our subdivisions are vinyl sided, even the $800,000 and $900,000 homes. Again, these are built for the long term, low maintenance, so they have decided to go with LP. LP and Hardy are kind of the higher end of siding products, and we don't see that often. Also, if you look, you don't see hardly anywhere this number of windows on a home, and I think the fact that an architect actually went through and decided where all the windows should go is to their credit. So these have far and above more windows than we've ever seen in a house in Shakopee.
Councilor Lehman?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Kursky, I heard earlier that this is park and open space.
Mayor and Council, so when there were some odd parcels, if you remember, I think a year or two ago, when Peggy Sue Amihi was here, we rezoned all of the real parks and open space to parks and open space. This area was not, because it was right away that Scott County had, and the only reason why I ended up in parks and open space was an error, because if you go back to this map, so when they acquired this, they did not, you can see down here there's platted right away. They never platted this as right away. So when they went through and made this, they just plugged all of this into parks and open space, even though there's a gigantic road running through it. because at the time, the county did not cut out all the right-of-way. So what will happen is, only this little piece would be re-guided. The rest of this will remain in Parks and Open Space with a road through it, because the county has no plans on doing any other development here, and there's stormwater ponds for County Road 18 located in this area.
All right, Mayor, let me re-ask the question. I'm going back to the fire station on Veerlingware situation. So there's no park space that was dedicated as park space.
I see where you're going, Councilmember. That is correct. So again, county land.
Yep.
So the city rezoned all of its parks and open space to actually a parks and open space rezoning
Understood that
about 2
part.
years ago. This was not rezoned. This was left alone because we realized this was an error, and it's actually all right away.
Okay, so that answers the question. Now, the next question is, this addition would be required to dedicate park space or dollars under park dedication. So is the land to the north being dedicated as official parkland by this addition?
Mayor and council know. So this is just going to remain open space in Scott County, just left as it is. They will pay park dedication fees, and we're going to use that money to do some improvements in the Glacier Estates Park, which is right over here, which is the neighborhood park, which is zoned as a park.
Okay, one of the concerns by the Glacier Estates neighbors at the public hearing at the Planning Commission that I watched was a concern about losing a lot of this wooded area. Would it not appease that concern if that area was actually dedicated as park space?
Mayor and council, there was concern actually from our public works staff. We don't maintain that right now, Scott County does, and it's a pretty large area,
Okay.
wooded area that we would have to.
Conservation area?
That would be up to the county. I mean, it's going to remain as open space in Scott County and in the city's guiding. So we've gotten assurances from Scott County they will maintain it as they have today.
Okay, well, apparently the residents that I watched at the public hearing at the Planning Commission didn't get them assurances in Glacier Estates because a lot of them raised concerns about keeping that area for the natural habitat and wildlife.
And Mayor and council, that's why they shrunk it from the larger number of lots they had to basically preserve that whole wooded area.
Yeah, it was all down in here before.
The previous plan was a third bigger and.
Yep, the previous plan, Mayor and council went into this area up in here. They're now, and if you look at the historic photographs, this area has basically been unwooded from the beginning. In fact, Glacier Estates was pretty much a forest before it was developed.
Actually, the development of Glacier Estates took a lot of cover, more than a fraction of what this development would do. And they get if this were to be approved, the park dedication fee goes to an enhancement of the park that's already there, so it's,
To gain again.
okay.
Mayor and council, there's a county representative here, and they can address, I can't speak for the county about any concerns you have about what happens to the rest of
Just
their land.
to back up on Counselor Lehman, right, question, the remnant parcels to the north, they're just gonna remain under county control and be natural open space.
Mayor and council, that's correct. And there are also ponds right now off the.
Part of it'll be a pond.
Yep, off this picture, there's a pretty large pond.
Okay. Further questions of staff? Further questions of staff?
I have another question. As, what did you call these lots? They're
Community Land Trust.
land trust. Do these properties pay property taxes to the city, to the county, to the Met Council?
They'll pay sack and whack, and they'll pay property taxes on the improvements, so the houses they pay property taxes on.
But the land itself won't?
Land will stay in the land trust is exempt, correct?
But if, right, I think it, probably not on the tax rolls now, right? 'Cause
Mayor and
there's
council, that's correct, it's Scott
Oh,
County's
then,
property.
if the land isn't paying taxes, but I put a house on it, then that increment,
The house?
house, pays taxes. And part of the aspect of the land trust, and we can hear from the county, but that's the beauty of the land trust application, is the land stays stagnant, where the equity can be built in the house, it can be improved, it can be expanded, offering opportunities for home ownership.
Maybe I should be asking if the average resident can put their property into a trust, but not their house.
Well, great. Let's, any further questions of our staff, city staff? Seeing none, then would the county care to make comment? Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Julie Siegert, and I am the Executive Director of the Scott County CDA. Happy to be able to share a little bit about the Community Land Trust, which is our newest program in our homeownership group. You all know that life cycle housing is important in our community, and just wanted to highlight where this particular development kind of shows up in that cycle. This would be for first-time homebuyers or move-up renters in our community. The important thing about life cycle housing is it just recognizes as we age and as our income and household changes, so do our housing needs. We recently completed a comprehensive housing study for all of the cities here in partnership this past June. And one of the things that was identified was the demand for each of those housing types. In particular, there's a demand for just under 4,000 single-family homes here in the city of Shakopee. I also think that the study supported that the private market is not meeting demand for entry-level homeownership, so this provides a good opportunity to do that. In the CDA's nearly 50-year history, I think that we have been a trusted community partner here in Shakopee. We have over 700 rental units across the county, including just under 240 here in Shakopee. We also partner with rental property owners on our various rental assistance programs. We partner with private developers to increase the supply of multifamily housing in the communities across the county. And then the program we wanted to highlight today was our homeownership program. We are the HUD certified counseling agency for Scott County, which provides support for existing homeowners who may be facing foreclosure, and also supporting future homeowners in our communities. So our homeownership programs are really varied, understanding that not everyone's path to homeownership looks the same. So we provide education and counseling services. Our education is either an in-person course that people can take, 8-hour course, or they can take an online course at their own pace. We also have HUD certified counseling services, so people can meet individually with counselors for their particular situation to see how they can become a successful homeowner in the community. We have down payment assistance grants, and then our newest program is the Land Trust. Land trusts are certainly not new, and they are not unique to Minnesota. There are 11 other land trusts in Minnesota, including our neighboring Carver County has one. They're also a national model, so there are more than 275 community land trusts across the nation that include over 6,000 units. And really, they're designed to keep housing affordable for the long term. So there's a one-time upfront investment that is recycled at the resale that then gets passed along to the next homeowner as well. So like I mentioned, our land trust was adopted the end of 2019 by the CDA board. We wanted to provide a tool for those moderate income buyers who needed to access different ways to access homeownership. I'll share with you what the shared equity model looks like, and then talk a little bit about the ground lease, which is what ties the home and the land together. So when we were building out our program, we really wanted to be able to be flexible in terms of adding homes to our portfolio, because we want to be able to take advantage of different market conditions, different resources that would be available. So we have acquired 3 homes here in Shakopee already. Those are held in trust and are owned by people here in the community. Last month, we purchased a home in Prior Lake. We've also partnered with Habitat for Humanity on a 12-unit development that is under construction in the city of Prior Lake. And we are also under construction on 4 single-family homes in New Prague on land that the CDA owns. So a little bit about the ground lease. It is a 40-page document that is great detail that really supports both the land trust and the homeowner. These are the people who purchase the home will live in the home, so there will not be any subletting of the units. They're required to use it as their primary residence. We, as the land trust, would have a first right of refusal to purchase the home at time of sale, or if the homeowner goes in default, we would also have the opportunity to buy the home back and put it back into trust. And then there is a shared equity model and a formula that determines the resale price. Essentially, 25% stays with the person selling the home, 75% would stay in the land trust.
Question.
Yeah, Councilor Lehman.
Can you back up one slide, please? Resale price of the property formula. Most of our formulas are work off the county assessor assessing the valuation on a property. Does that not exist here?
So we do a appraisal at time of purchase, and then at time of sale, we'll also do an appraisal as well.
Does the Scott County Assessor's Office assess values yearly on these properties?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
So then, like Mr. Kursky mentioned, we did reduce the number of lots and have 10 units that are proposed for you for our land trust. We did listen to the community and the residents and want these homes to fit into the neighborhood, and so we looked at the existing covenants. There were original covenants and 2 amendments since Glacier Estates has been developed, and so we are meeting a number of those design elements in order for these homes to be fitting in the neighborhood. Mr. Kursky went over the floor plan there, so it's a 4-bedroom home, room for expansion, 2-car garage. A little bit about who would live in the home. Like I mentioned, these will be owner occupied. They will have a continual relationship with the CDA. We will check in with them annually to support them in their homeownership journey. We give a preference to people who are living or working in Scott County for these homes. They have to income qualify, so we're talking like $90,000 for a family of 4. Those income limits are reviewed each April. They also will go through all of our homebuyer education and counseling programs. They will have a house payment that they can afford and will continue to invest in your community in other ways. So then to provide an example of how the land trust model works, so using kind of an example of what we're doing in New Prague, that home is being constructed similar size, 4-bedroom, 2-car garage. Our construction price there is $400,000. The CDA has owned that land for several years. The land will stay in trust. We have one-time gap assistance for those homes from Minnesota Housing, which would get the sale price down to $325,000. If the homeowner puts a $10,000 down payment, assuming a 6% interest rate, you can see what the monthly mortgage payment would be. Typically, a community land trust homeowner will stay in the home for approximately 7 years. So assuming that the home increases in value during that time, the gain on the home would be $68,000. So to determine the shared equity model, you take the $68,000 and you subtract the $10,000 original down payment, which leaves you with $58,000. 25% of that would stay with the seller, and then the remaining 75% would be used to write down the new price for the person purchasing the home. So hopefully that helps show an example of how that one-time initial investment is recycled over time.
The ability to keep turning it and providing that lower price house. Okay, continue, or is that?
Well, thank you very much. I do have people here from the project team. This is a joint application with Scott County, and the transportation study people are here as well, if you have questions.
Questions of the CDA director? Questions? If not, thank you.
Thank you.
Counselors? Michael, can you tee up the plat, what I call the plat view of this? Counselor White?
You want me to start this? You know, like I mentioned before, previously, it looked a lot different. There was concerns about the trees, and I think this looks a lot more fitting. So let's start this by making a motion to adopt Resolution R 2022 TAC 153, approving the comprehensive plan amendment to Figure 4.12 planned land use in the 2040 comprehensive plan. Let's see, did I get that one right?
Yep, well, we'll do one at a time.
Yep.
So just a reminder on the very first one, rezone, the comprehensive plan amendment does take a super. Counselor Lehman?
That's going from rural residential to,
Mayor and council, so Councilor, it's going from parks and open space to, I believe it's suburban residential. So their land use is first, then you'd rezone it, and then you do the subdivision.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. My comment on this, and, I see the street as stub, but I drive by this area all the time, and you think, oh, is it gonna be developed? Is it just excess right away, or what? It's at least the southern half is a nice buildable area, and, to put some homes in there, I think it would be a good addition to the community in the end. And I don't think this is I don't really, because of the previous, I guess, error in guiding, because it was a county piece, it's actually a cleanup of an error. So I don't take this as spot zoning at all. I think it's actually correcting something. But, further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
I,
Motion passes with a super of 4-1.
Mayor, I'll take the second one.
Counselor Contreras.
Thank you. And just quickly, my opinion, just the design standards to match and look to what's there and better. I mean, that's a plus. Keeping the trees, a plus, and then bettering the playground, a plus. To me, it's perfect. It's fine. I'll take the second one, adopt ordinance O 2022-029, amending the zoning map adopted in city code section, I believe, 151.1003 by rezoning property at the northwest corner of Eagle Creek Boulevard and County Road 18 from rural residential zone RR to urban residential zone R-1B.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Contreras, a second by Counselor Brennan. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Counselor Lehman, you vote yes on this and vote against the comp plan amendment?
yep, maybe you gotta know when you're beat, right?
He's right.
All right. Moving on to the next item then. Counselor Brennan?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number R 2022-154, approving the preliminary and final plat of the Moraine addition.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion, Counselor Whiting?
Yeah, we talk about our toolbox when we talk about economic development. We don't talk about housing, and the county gets to deal with that kind of thing, and they talked about modern income buyers and that home ownership, you know, when it was home ownership for me, it was that 1895 house with 11 broken windows and the stucco falling off for like, I won't even say how much it was then, but the county now, we'll talk later, but I've added on a little bit since then. But that was my fixer-upper. Now, people now don't have that opportunity. When a studio apartment costs over 120 grand to build now, somewhere in that neighborhood, the toolbox needs to be full for opportunities for the county, and I think this is a great chance for them to have a toolbox.
Councilor Lehman.
The problem is that housing affordability is not, housing is not affordable mostly because of government policies. I mean, we could look at the high interest rates, which are pushing people out of the doubling mortgage payments, pushing people out of first-time home purchases. We can look at energy cost, which we just saw on our own bill list, $330,000 budget amendment because of high energy prices. So the energy policy is hurting all households. You've got a unsecured border, which is putting a burden on schools, healthcare.
All right, enough of the border.
So you've got government that has created unaffordable housing.
Here's government trying to make housing affordable.
Well, I mean, 10 houses out of 20,000 that are unaffordable.
Well, the county's trying to do what they can with their land. The other land is in private ownership by land. Government is not the problem here. We produce a lot of housing. The builders build to the market. I've read a lot about land trusts around the metro area. They're successful. And I have met with Julie and county staff. We're already doing it in our community. You know, we have 3 houses. You're right, Councilor Lehman. It isn't enough. But you would never know it. It blends into our community. And it's just 3 houses. Here's an opportunity for 10. And we're already doing it in our community. I think the county listened to the community and reduced their plan by 1/3, made some adjustments, made the improvements. This is a nice opportunity for our community.
I think you're missing my point.
Your point, you wanted to say that government's the problem. I see government as providing a solution.
My point is, what does this do for all of the households that are much more unaffordable today than they were 2 years ago because of government policies? Zero. It does nothing.
All right.
And if you really think that 10 houses out of all of Shakopee are going to make a big difference, if we continue down the path we're on, government's going to have to subsidize everybody's house, and that's not sustainable. So unless we tackle the underlying issue.
Thank you for the commentary. The question has been called, motion on the table, and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes 4-1. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. Let's move ahead then to (9B2) Planned Unit Development Amendment to the Windermere PUD, and Michael will present.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this is the Windermere Planned Unit Development PUD Amendment. This is the particular site, Highway 169 to the north, Marystown Road is to the east. This is city-owned land that has a regional detention basin, and then behind it, this is city-owned park open space land. This is the land that we just planted the prairie on underneath the power lines. So the applicant for this project is the Roars Companies. Current property owner is D.R. Horton. It's 5.54 acres. Current zoning is B1 Highway Business, which allows apartments as a permitted use. 2040 comp plan is mixed-use commercial, which allows apartments up to 60 units an acre. And it's part of the original Windermere PUD. Each site requires a PUD amendment. If you remember, this was the initial concept site plan from about 6.5 years ago. Showed this basically as future commercial. They've marketed it for quite a long time. As you know, between pandemic and changes in the retail market, there's not been a big demand for any more retail. And just to the north of here is the Hy-Vee and Hy-Vee convenience store. So the Planning Commission voted 3-3 on this, so they did not have a recommendation. The staff met with the developer and heard some of the issues from the neighbors. So since the Planning Commission, the developer has reduced the building to 3 levels on the east side. They've reduced the number of units by 25 units, so 230 to 205. They reduced the building height by 10 to 12 feet on the east side. They've also reduced the amount of required parking by 47 spaces. They now have 33 extra spaces. Previously, they were short by 9 spaces. The proposed development unit mix is 205 market rate apartment units, 42 studio units for $1,355 to $1,415 a month, 64 one-bedrooms from $1,590 to $1,750, 82 two-bedrooms for $2,055 to $2,220, and 17 three-bedroom units at $2,725 a month. The development is 3 and 4 levels of residential units above a parking garage. The building is 3 and 4 levels on the south side, 4 and 5 levels on the north side due to the drop in topography. They're proposing a 313 stall garage with 86 surface parking spaces. The proposed density is 37 dwelling units an acre. Comp plan allows for up to 60. To give you an idea, the Arasan across the street's at 34.5 units an acre, and the Omri, which is over at Canterbury, now under construction, is 42 units an acre. Their expected opening would be in November, December of 2024. So changes in the site plan. So originally, get this to work. The building on the, it's actually 2 buildings joined by this little hallway here. I'm sitting on a concrete podium. They've lowered this section to 3 levels. It was originally 4 levels. If you read in the report, there's an existing RAR gas line that runs through the property that's managed by Xcel. They're currently working with Xcel. One of the conditions is that has to be moved, and they're now going to have it route around the property. They're proposing 21 trees in the parking lot. They don't have enough space on their site because of utility easements and other easements. This is city park and open space here, so they're proposing to put, as allowed by code, trees for the city in this area. So the west side of the proposed building is 350 to 390 feet from the nearest homes on Willow Circle, which is up here, so you can see the actual outline of the building on the property here. So here are some new elevations. So they did reduce, so originally it was all this height here. They've reduced this to 3 levels. Again, 3 levels here. Down below is the materials. So the architects have worked with staff on really meeting our design guidelines and exceeding them. So there's integral colored rock face CMU, 2 different colors, 2 different colors of brick, and then wood tone, cement board, bronze metal paneling, a corrugated metal siding that we're still working with them on, a white cement board, a dark cement board, and then this building has a significant amount of glass. They far exceed the city code for windows. So here's some enlarged elevations. You can see the step down now. So this is where they lowered the building 3 levels. The other thing, because of the grade difference, this is at the street level. The building's actually in a bit of a hole. They've taken advantage of that, you'll see in a second, in some of their amenity areas. Along the highway on the north elevation, so this is actually the parking garage. So the building is sitting on the parking garage. They are doing, through use of change of materials, they created kind of faux windows to break up that facade. That was a addition that they worked with staff on. They've actually added additional brick here on the end. Here's the west elevation, so this is the ramp. This is actually the entrance to the parking garage coming down a ramp. So this is the tallest part of the building. East elevation, this gives you an idea through this section. So this is the level, they dropped this upper level here.
This is the taller aspect of it?
The mayor and council, the dark portion is the taller portion of the building. The white portion is the longer portion, which is now only 3 stories. This is a rendering. You can see it drops significantly down the hill here. So this is the 3-story section. There was originally 4. And here's some renderings. This is from Windermere Way. And again, because of the way the road and the topography are, this eastern section sits kind of in a lower area. This is looking through the outlot that the city owns, so this is where all of those trees will be installed. So this is the south elevation facing north, so this is one of the amenity areas. This is the swimming pool area, and they've got a lot of outdoor amenities. And again, you can see this is the lower portion at 3 levels. Here's the south elevation looking from the east side facing northwest. Again, the 3 levels up against the 4 levels. North elevation, northwest corner. So the initial D.R. Horton concept showed 4 buildings totaling 35,000 square feet of commercial space, including a gas station and retail. Estimated daily trips for this apartment building are 931 versus 3,700 trips for the commercial buildings. AM peak hour trips are estimated at 78 trips for an apartment building versus 290 trips for the commercial. PM, it's 80 trips to the apartment building versus 319 for the original. So the building height is 46 to 49 feet on the west side and 36 to 39 feet on the east side. The proposed ground level of the building is 36 feet to 39 feet below the ground elevation of the lots on Willow Circle. So that, dropping that 1 floor helps substantially for the eastern portion. With the reduced height of the building, the east side is now below the elevation of the houses on Willow Circle by 10 to 12 feet. Here's some kind of floor plans for you. This is a proposed pickleball courts and some other amenity areas. This is a pretty heavily amenitized property. Also, another unusual feature is all of these units at the first floor enter out into this amenity area. So if they have a dog or they want to go for a walk, they can actually exit right out of their unit onto this plaza area. Here's the, so they have a fire pit and patio area, outdoor movie area, a dog run, outdoor planters, and adjacent, they have patios for all of those units. Other amenities in the building include a club room, a fenced 50 by 18 foot swimming pool, outdoor grill station, outdoor seating areas and tables, and outdoor patios adjacent to all of the first floor units. Vehicle parking, they're required to have 366 spaces by code. They're proposing 313 garage plus 86 surface spaces for a total of 399. So they've actually, by lowering the number of units, they decreased the need for 47 spaces. Necessary future actions, they do need a final plat since this is currently an outlot, and the applicant, again, must still receive the final approval to relocate the gas pipeline that bisects their site. Again, Planning Commission voted 3-3 with no recommendation. The applicant has since revised the building design, reducing the height of the eastern end, and staff recommends council approval. And the applicant also has a short presentation. They are new to this market. They've done a lot of their projects in the market, and there's some confusion because there are actually 2 Roars, and they're actually in litigation between the 2 Roars on who gets to use the name. But there's another Roars not in Minnesota that came up at the Planning Commission, which is not them.
Okay. Let's start with questions of staff. Councilor Brennan?
The Planning Commission had a split vote on this. And what were the concerns of the Planning Commission, and do you feel that those concerns were addressed in this, what's being presented tonight?
Mayor and council, I think the biggest issue was a fairly monolithic building with that eastern end being a long building. So they dropped that a floor, which I think makes that a better project. I think the market was a concern, and the applicant, as part of their presentation, has done a pretty extensive market study and will give you, I think, as of today, the best accurate information they can on apartments in Shakopee to kind of show you why they're willing to make a $60 million investment here.
Okay, other questions? I just have some technicality questions from, so is this lot an outlot?
It's in, Mayor and Council, it was an outlot, there's 2 outlets actually.
Oh, I know that.
The city owns one and this is the other.
Right, okay. So my question is gonna come down to, because you know, we all received correspondence from residents. I think 4 or 5, Jen, Emily, Teresa, Leah, John, residents in the area that had concerns. A lot of this it looked like, based off the planning commission, but that's fine. You're asking for a amendment to the PUD.
So, Mayor and Council, this is an old PUD. We did away with these 3 or 4 years ago, so this is a PUD overlay. So the underlying zoning actually comes ahead of the PUD. The PUD was to get enhanced architecture and features, so that's why this building has probably 30% more windows than any other apartment building we've seen.
Well, my question's gonna come down to that it's currently zoned B1 highway business.
Correct.
Which an apartment building is allowed, correct?
As of right, correct.
And the comp plan has it as planned mixed-use commercial center, which apartments are allowed?
Up to 60 units an acre.
Up to 60 units. So, but when it gets down to the aspect, this isn't truly a land use change. It's an amendment to the PUD, to the old PUD.
Mayor and Council, that's correct. So this is again an overlay, and it was, I remember it was more aesthetically related. So to the applicant's credit, they heard at the Planning Commission some of the height issues. They reduced the building. And working with staff, I mean, this building is substantially better than we saw probably 2 or 3 months ago when they started working on the concepts through additional masonry, additional colors. They added all those balconies you see were the roofs were not on that. They added that in to try and give some articulation to the building because it's a big building.
No, I followed this in the Planning Commission as well, and the first time and second time, and improvements have been made. The developer has listened, but other questions of staff, Councilor Whiting.
More kind of a question, more of a comment, but I've been through these discussions with this whole development over the years. Councilor Lehman's been there. We talked about how that was all going to grow and develop, and how the public would have a view of the scenic view there, and the trees would be preserved. And there was going to be one apartment building, and currently there's at least 3 over there now. This was going to be a professional building, possibly a convenience or a gas station, something like that. So I can see if that was the concept of the time that the current homeowners would have a concern with. Now all of a sudden they're looking at this. It does fit the zoning, so as far as a concept plan, this overlay PUD is what we're talking about here, but it does fit all the zoning like you mentioned, so it would be a natural fit. But it does have some issues because we never talked about this in that many apartments in that area.
Okay. Other questions of staff? Other questions of staff? If not, then the developer want to make a short presentation? Please come to the table, state your name and address for the record, and welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Travis Fouchold. I'm a development associate at Roars Companies working on this project. So we've been working with Michael and Kyle over the last couple months to present this project, and we're really excited to be here and we're grateful for the opportunity. I thought I'd introduce Roars Companies, who we are and what we do. We are based out of Plymouth, Minnesota, and we are a multifamily developer that works in a lot of different apartment communities around the state of Minnesota and around the country. We have experience on a lot of different product types, whether that's market rate, affordable, senior, student, and most of our experience lies in Minnesota and the Midwest, but over the last 10 years, we've grown significantly and have grown to develop in other states around the country, whether that's Arizona, Texas, Carolinas, Florida, Utah, Colorado. But I will say most of our experience lies in the Twin Cities markets, and in the Twin Cities market on market rate housing. And so, I think the growth that our company has seen is attributed to being a vertically integrated company. We have an in-house property manager that works on all the construction projects we end up building to make sure the property is maintained, is operating according to plan. Additionally, we do a lot of new construction projects, and when we are working in Texas and Minnesota, and what we're proposing on this project is our in-house general contractor is the one that's that would be building this project to make sure, you know, we're building this project according to the plans with, you know, high quality construction materials that are meant to last and that look good. And when we're not working with our in-house general contractor in here or in Texas, we have a construction management team that makes sure that's there to make sure everything's working, you know, and is on schedule and is built according to the plans. And so, like Michael said, we do have projects all around the Twin Cities Metro, whether that's Shakopee, Apple Valley, Rosemont, Lakeville, Bloomington, you know, St. Louis Park, Oakdale. We're really excited to provide, you know, a very similar project, and so like Michael said, you know, it is very highly amenitized, and we think we're going to provide an amenity package that residents are really going to enjoy, whether that's, you know, a lot of green space in courtyard and a dog run and a pickleball court and in the pool, but also we have a work from home kind of lounge that is, you know, more or less a co-working space for, you know, small offices with a printer that residents can use to work from home if they want to get out of their apartment. Along with a, you know, food delivery vestibule, a fitness center, a nice clubhouse. So we're really proud to present this project. But there were some concerns at Planning Commission that we just thought we'd highlight. You know, we did hear that there were concerns about vacancy and the amount of apartments in the area. That, you know, these apartment units were not full. Based on our third-party market consultant and based on some software used to analyze the market, we found that that's not the case. All the new market rate communities in and around the area are full. For those that are existing and for those that are just recently be built, they, you know, are leasing very quickly and have strong absorption rates. Additionally, another concern we received was on the density of the project and of the height, as Michael mentioned. We were originally here proposing 230 units a few weeks ago, and we've, you know, in an attempt to provide and to not obstruct the view, we shrunk or reduced the height of the eastern wing, which we believe will help in terms of density. There will be less people living there. There will be less traffic. I know traffic was another concern that we heard. And so we did make some, you know, revisions to the plans. Michael, if you keep going on the slide. We can show some before and after pictures. Density was another concern. You know, as Michael mentioned, we are on the lower end of density for, you know, a project here in this zoning district and in this future land use. So here on the left, you can see the 4-story building we originally proposed, and then we took that eastern wing down a story to make sure our neighbors to the south still have their view. There was some other concerns around, you know, the density, how many units in the massing, and so, you know, the two kind of buildings that are connected with this, you know, hallway glass vestibule, we thought would help. Another concern, Michael, if you keep going, was again the height. You know, we thought we provided some compromise in reducing, you know, 225 units, 12% of the property, but you know, and parking was another one as well, where, you know, we weren't meeting code originally, and we are now exceeding parking counts and are doing everything we can to eliminate any concerns as you know, we can eliminate and prevent any overflow in street parking. So with that, happy to answer any other questions on the project specifically. Todd Novak, he's here with the RSP. He's the architect of record working on this one. He's based out of Minneapolis. They're a Minneapolis architect that has a lot of experience on similar projects. So thank you for the time, and we're grateful to be here.
Thank you for your presentation, Travis. Questions of the developer? So you've been proposing to add some trees onto the city portion outlot, and what I got is that it sounded from the narrative that you would be open to actually planting more trees there. Is that possible?
That's correct, yeah, and we'd like to make sure we preserve the nice view to the neighbors of the south in those single-family homes, and so we'd propose to be planting trees on that city-owned piece of land to provide a nice view and also contribute to that trail system.
And then I guess a question either probably for staff, actually. The park dedication would probably be in cash for this, and then that would go into our Windemar neighborhood bigger park up the hill, right?
Mayor and Council, I believe Kyle told me today the number is about close to $1 million in park dedication, $900,000. We have, long-range plans. We bought the adjacent property to our outlot, and we have been working with Brigham and developers and family about acquiring kind of the rest of that bluff to finish off that park.
Get that tower yet.
The tower's coming. All right, thank you. Other questions of the developer? Other questions of the developer? Counselor Contreras?
I mean, this is very minimal, but I was just looking at one of the pictures where you have the dog run. Is that enclosed? Will that be enclosed? I didn't get to see, I mean, I'm guessing it is, but I just wanted to make sure it was.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. It would be gated, and then there would also be a dog wash station that would be connected to that dog run, dog park area that would be in the courtyard, but yeah, that's correct.
And then one comment, Mayor. I do want to thank you because, like the mayor said, I got tons of concerns, and as I'm here highlighting them, I'm checking off everything you've replied to and answered, each one of those, and I'm listening, I'm seeing that you are, as I'm here checking off things, and one of them was that they're not being filled, right? I don't know how a developer would come and make such a huge investment and not fill their apartments. So I appreciate you doing that, going above and beyond and doing that study, because it proves that we are filling them. And I appreciate that you considered Shakopee. I mean, this is a big investment. And I also, to our citizens who were worried about the traffic, today we know what is going in there, right? If we would say no right now, we don't know what possibly could ever come or when it come. And they keep talking about traffic. Today we know that it'd be residents who would be a more permanent traffic flow, right? Because they go in and, they come out to work in the morning and then return in the afternoon. We got that part. When you have a convenience store, a gas station, a mini mall, I read somewhere. I mean, can you imagine the traffic that we are going to attract? So it's just, I'm trying to just point things that were sent to me, and I'm seriously, I've read every one, I've highlighted, I've made notes. I just want to be fair when we make this decision, right? And acknowledge each and every one of them. And I've tried, seriously, I've tried, and I appreciate the work you guys put into it. So we're answering our constituents. So thank you.
If no further questions, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilors? Councilor Brennan?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number R 2022-149, improving the proposed PUD amendment with conditions.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for this project. I want to thank staff for working hard with the developer. This has been of some controversy. You've been in front of our planning commission twice, I believe. Here you are with a reduced project with more data. I think the elevation actually sits down quite a low area. This area has had a lot of growth, and such a building is allowed in this zoning, even though we're amending the PUD. People want to come to Shakopee, and I take a great deal of pride that they want to come, and they want to come and live in different things. We talked about land trusts, we talk about apartments, we talk about starter homes, our older stock in Shakopee, which is very valuable, or new homes that, are at tremendous prices because of the market builders want to build to the market. We have, like, life cycle housing, apartments are part of that. And we've seen, what have we seen, 8, 9 apartments over the last 7 years in our thing, and actually their residency rates are pretty strong, and we understand their market rates, and some of us are going, wow, that's a lot of money. If I could find a way to buy a home for that. When I came out of college, I rented an apartment. I had to rent a couple of them, right? Until you save up enough money to buy a house. But anyway, enough of that. Councilor Whiting?
Oh, thank you. I was talking about the concept plan earlier that we had, And I don't think I've ever seen a concept plan that's actually come out to be what it originally was concepted as, you know. But I appreciate the fact that you brought this project that fits the zoning, fits, you know, can be built. But you worked with the residents that had concerns, and you you know, as Councilor Contreras said, you worked with them and you addressed every one of them. So that's a big aspect. Was it what the neighbors thought they were going to be looking at? No, but you know, they could have bought that property and built whatever they wanted. I always say that, but when you build something in someone's backyard, they're always going to have a problem with it, and unless it's that nice little garden, right? So I understand how these things go. It's difficult. I appreciate you working with our citizens, though, and making some changes.
Councilor Contreras?
I just wanted to add to our constituents who are watching, who are seeing, things do change. I mean, everything, today we're here, tomorrow we're not. And the little minimal thing that happened was COVID. I mean, COVID changed everything. We lost, you know, people who businesses, and so sometimes nowadays, I mean, people are, are worried. Do you invest in bringing a boutique or bringing, you know, another store? And we have Hy-Vee across the street. So we just got to remind, things do change. We've learned that these last 2.5 years, and not everything is always set in stone. So I just need to make that clear. You know, it's a plan. It was set there, but things change. And they're the only ones who have come to us with the plan. It's been sitting there for a while, for a long time. So that's it.
Fits.
And it fits.
Motion on the table and a second. Further discussion? Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-1. Thank you all very much.
I'm gonna make a motion for a 10-minute recess.
Why don't we get down to 11, and then you can do that? Is that all right?
Nope.
Or you gotta go? It's up to you.
If you
I'll
wanna wait,
second that.
whatever.
All right, I have a second now for a 10-minute recess. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. We stand in recess for 10 minutes. meeting for December 20th, 2022. After our brief recess, we are moving ahead then. 9B3 was added to consent. 10A, the city bill list is in front of us. Any comment, questions on that, on the city bill list? Seeing none, then, we would move to 10B, our liaison administration report, and we'll start over here at Councilor Brennan.
I have nothing to report.
All right, thank you. Councilor Lehman.
Scale meeting had a large presentation by Bolton and Mink, and it was very interesting. It was called Future Cities, and I'll just give bits and pieces, and you can kind of think about totality. A future stoplight that tells your computer-controlled car when to start braking when the light's turning yellow, or striping on roads that warn your onboard computer when you're veering one way or the other. Probably doesn't help get the DWIs off the road if your car's driving itself and staying between the lines, but future stormwater retention ponds that have electronic flow where it knows, it gets the electronic weather update saying, gee, we're going to get a 2-inch rain in 2 days, so it automatically opens a valve to lower the level so that it can accommodate the pending runoff. So
Our city engineer would love that.
it was a pretty, it was pretty interesting. One thing that did come out is that the transportation trends are still overwhelmingly upward trend on individual car usage, and that's probably going to be the case for quite a while to come. There was some discussion about the liability issues of self-driving cars and who's responsible and these types of things. So it was very interesting to listen to some of this. Whether it becomes the future or not, nobody really knows what the timeline might be and how it all works out, but it was really curious. RTF meeting. We're going to be meeting middle of January. Supposedly we'll get the study that was done on the future of the RTF and some of the options that might be available. It's a short meeting. It's pretty much all that was talked about. Nothing final yet. Carver County did start the process of removing their membership from the RTF. They do plan on using the facility on a as-needed basis and paying the daily rate fees or whatever. So that's my report.
Councilor, thank you very much. Councilor Whiting.
Nothing to report.
Okay. Councilor Contreras.
Thank you, Mayor. Just two things that took place at the school board meeting on December 12th. The first one was they approved, if you have kids in the district, they approved tomorrow, December 21st, as snow day, which might actually happen, but there was a reasoning behind it. As we know, tomorrow there'll be the celebration of life of Doug Ketty, who was a teacher in our district. And that would take, they did it in that purpose, so the kids would, and staff would take the time to go and celebrate his life. And that's gonna take place at Wooddale Church in Eden Prairie at 11. So if anyone's, wanting to go, you're welcome to attend. And then the second one that was very important is Judy Tomzik. She's retiring 50 years in education and education in Shakopee. So, yes, pretty darn cool. And she sat on, on the school board, and like I told her, great mentor to look at when I'd go and watch her, and she'd attend her meetings. She wasn't, just talking just to, to please the cameras. No, she knew what she wanted. She knew what she had to say. Very professional, very smart, educated, and a great role model. Yep, so that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For my mayor report, on December 7th, went to MLC, the Metropolitan Legislative Committee, was honored there. Went to the Brew Hall where the Counselor Lehman, Counselor Brennan, the brew hall, which is now open for coffee. The coffee is pretty good there. December 9th, went to Scale, heard the presentation that Counselor Lehman was just talking about, and also was honored by them. I did attend the Chamber Member Appreciation Event on December 13th. Also, just the other day, attended the Shakopee Employee Breakfast that we put on annually, and Mr. Reynolds handed out some great awards, a great turnout. Our city employees do a great job from every department, and thank you. And just the other day, as well, as I mentioned earlier, I attended an event for our seniors at the community center with some holiday carolers, and we saw a lot of those donation dollars be put to use at that event. It was a very great event, and great to see the crowds back, because last year there were probably less than 10 people, and now I think they had, I don't know, 50, I heard. Big number. So, great event. That's my mayor's report. Administration report, Mr. Reynolds.
Nothing from administration, sir.
Okay. Let's move ahead then to item 11. Is there any other business before this council? Any other business? Councilor Lehman.
Before we forget, I'd like to say happy holiday season greetings, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year.
Yeah. Well, very good. I have some other business. So as my last meeting here, presiding as mayor over the city council, the great city of Shakopee, and now starting January 3rd, passing the torch to Mayor-elect Lehman. Matt, I've known you for a long time, and the city's going to be in your hands.
Our hands.
And as you move forward, you're going to need a few things.
Okay.
So, I have these lapel pins. So as you meet folks from every walk of life that come into our community, you can give them a pin and greet them very well.
Okay.
You'll need them. There's more. We've been through a couple bags of those over the last many years. Also, after meeting and greeting people, you should write them a handwritten thank you note. So here's some Shakopee stationery. I've been through 4 boxes of these, and you can get more as you go, because you'll need to write a lot of thank yous for the folks.
All right.
And as a person that's known you for a long time, and now as a mayor, not any more powers.
Is there a bottle of Jack Daniels in that bag?
No.
How well do you know me?
Well,
it would be a Bush NA.
but as you lead the council, you know, the mayor doesn't really have any more power or less power than anybody else. But I do believe that I am leaving the city in phenomenal shape for your next term. But as always, you will need a lot of hope. So today I'm honoring you with some hope butter, and it's some pretty good butter. But it's the story on this is that I'm hoping for a lot of hope for you. So, Mayor-elect.
Thank you.
You bet. That's what I have for other business before this council. Is there any other business? Councilor Whiting.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session to conduct a performance review according to Minnesota State 13D.05 subdivision 3A.
Second.
I have a motion and a couple seconds to go into closed session for the normal, regular annual review of our city administrator. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. And we'll wait for the room to clear.